Good morning. I wish to congratulate wholeheartedly the Supreme Court for the very courageous and independent decision they gave on the reason on those who are responsible for the economic bankruptcy of our country. It is a landmark decision. It demonstrates that when governance becomes democratic, the judiciary will also be independent and fair and just. We now know who is responsible for the state of our country, the economy, and the complete degradation of all that was worthwhile in it. I believe that those who have been named, which is very unusual, should immediately, without delay, resign from all their official posts, including their membership of parliament, and apologize to them. They cannot make excuses. The 200-odd page judgment makes it very clear who and how they are responsible for this total destruction of our country. I call upon the government to immediately begin investigations into the stolen assets of the people who have been named by the courts and take action to bring back those assets wherever they are hidden. We know they are in foreign bank accounts, especially in the names of offshore companies, but there are means of finding out where they are. We also know that they have been invested in expensive properties, country and in others. The government can get assistance from the special unit on the investigations on stolen assets, I believe, in the World Bank. And it's not the first time such things would have happened. In the Philippines, a long-term investigation was held into another leader, and quite a lot of his assets and his wife's assets were recovered and brought back to the country. In this way, the government will not be compelled to heap burden upon burden on the poor people who are already overburdened because of this economic situation. Those monies can go into the treasury to pay off our debts, and I'm sure there will be more. Some of us have made accounts of this. There will be more than what is required, much more than what is required, in stolen assets by this one family to repay our foreign debts. So I also believe that this is an excellent example to our young people who hope to become leaders one day, the ethical, effective leaders. This is a very good example to learn how they should act and how they should behave as leaders in our country, politicians as well as administrators. They can take a very good lesson from this. I would also like to say that respond to a statement made by a leading minister of the present government saying that it is a bad practice that the Supreme Courts give decisions against heads of state, and that the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka has given decisions held against 4 former presidents. I totally disagree. I think it is a duty of a Supreme Court that functions properly to investigate and judge whether former leaders or former whoever who has broken the trust of them, whether they did it or not. And this gentleman has named the 4 presidents, and one of them is myself. I wish to say, very brief, that in that case, where the Supreme Court held against me, the infamous Waters Edge case, the then Chief Justice he presided the bench of 3 judges. Very interestingly, incumbent Chief Justice. The second person was someone who was hoping to be nominated Chief Justice, and everybody knew that if they go against CBK, they can get lots of things from that government. And the third judge kept resigning from this panel of judges several times, so they had to reappoint a judge 3 times, a new judge. Secondly, that case was heard in the most unjust and inequitable circumstances. The Chief Justice refused to allow my senior counsel to present my case in courts. He just refused to allow him to talk. This was done, and in the judgment, not a word that had been said in defense of me was mentioned in the judgment. In the multi-page document, there was not a mention of the defendant's counsel's submissions. I just want to say, I don't want to go into that, that's this different matter, but as this was raised by an important minister of government, I felt it needed to be answered. The other 3 obviously may be guilty because the Supreme Court has gone into it fairly. In my case, there was no fair trial. And also, the judgment, the multi-page document of the judgment, does not in any way give one bit of evidence to say that the accused, namely myself, had done anything wrong or anything illegal or improper. It just goes on ranting emotionally, saying all kinds of unpleasant things about me, but not a word as to prove any of those statements they made against me, that I've breached the public trust placed in me, but not one incident, how I breached that, has been stated in that judgment. So, in fact, I could have gone to the International Court of Justice against this. I consulted senior barristers in the UK. I did not have the heavy fees that they demanded to pay for it. They thought I had a very good case against the Supreme Court judgment. So, I want to put a stop to this. That even though I still hold that the Supreme Court has a right to judge the head of state and anybody else in this country. And I would say that the immunity, legal immunity placed on a president, even while he or she is president, should be removed, because they can go on robbing and doing all murdering and all kinds of things while they are in power with no sanctions. So I am not against the Supreme Court or any court in this country fairly and squarely judging a president or anybody else, but it has to be fair and square. That's all on that point. So finally, I would like to say this is a landmark, extraordinary judgment, and I hope that such more judgments would be delivered in the future against malpractices and malgovernance of those who breach the trust of the people who vote them into power. Thank you.